Good morning, everybody. We're live here from the birdhouse, and it is getting to the very end of May already, somehow. So, we are going to give you an update today on some of the different things people are seeing in their yards and things that you can start to expect as well. And as always, we will share your photos that have come in. And if you have any questions, you can throw those in the comments. If you have any sightings you want to put in there, you can go ahead and put those in too. We always like to know what kind of things that you're seeing, or you can just say hi in the comments also. So let's look at the migration map. Although we're past the peak of migration, you can still see there's still some movement that's kind of flowing through, especially the northern part of the country. This is the predicted migration movements from this evening going into tomorrow. So you can see there is still a little bit of movement flowing through, but for the most part, we're not seeing those evenings where there's like 400 million birds flowing through the US. So it has started to dwindle, but you can still see that there is some movement coming through. So don't be surprised if here and there things pop up in your yard that you have not seen before. It's not totally crazy that you would see something new, even still. As we are in the end of May. So there's still some migration activity coming through. People are reporting hummingbirds and orioles in their feeders. Not as many hummingbirds, it seems like, as usual, which has kind of been true every year. It seems people are getting less and less, which is not a good sign. But the orioles have been pretty strong, it seems like, in people's yards. As far as things that I saw, I did a little camping over the weekend, and I had a few fun sightings. The first is this burrow. Something dug out this burrow. There'd been a hole in the ground for a while, but it was unused. But then all of a sudden, it is freshly dug. So there is something that has made a new home in this burrow here in the ground. So I'm not totally sure what it is. And I set up a trail camera right next to it. So over the weekend, nothing tripped it, but I'm waiting to see. So I'm excited because I'm not sure what it could be in the ground. So to be continued here, if I figure out what it is that is burrowing here in the ground. Over where I camp. And I don't know if you can really see it. This isn't a very good picture, actually, but there were beetle carcasses everywhere. So I don't know if you can see. There's little shells here, little of the wings of the beetles were all over the place. And here's kind of a zoomed in picture showing some of that as well, where there was just shells everywhere of these beetles, and it was right below where some bluebirds have been hanging out. So I think the bluebirds might have been the culprit here, but just beetles everywhere. So there's definitely a lot of birds eating these bugs out there right now. And I've come to find out that they are called carrot beetles because they were all over the place. So I was able to actually get some good looks of them. At night, I put out a sheet with lights on. It's kind of early to get any of those big showy moths, but you never know what you might get. And it was just covered in these beetles. So you can see all those little black dots, which actually weren't so little, they were pretty big. Those are all the carrot beetles. So there were a lot of carrot beetles out that look like this. And at one point there were over 30 of them just on this one sheet alone. So they were all over the place this weekend. And I also saw this little guy. This is called the tiger beetle. These are pretty cool. It was bright green. They move really, really fast. So that was a fun little sighting. And then this little guy too, which looks like a moth. And here's the side view of it, but this is actually called a caddisfly, and they have aquatic larvae, so you can usually find them by ponds and streams, and they're actually a sign of good water quality, so it's a good thing to have them around. So this is called a caddisfly. So pretty cool, some different sightings. And here's a very grainy photo. If you look down at the bottom there, this is an eastern towhee. There was an eastern towhee just really close to me in the woods. I was only able to snap a photo with my cell phone, but I had a nice viewing of an eastern towhee. Tons of tree swallows still out, and they are going in and out of their nesting boxes. I could hear some little chirps and cheeps. There were some bluebirds out there, same kind of thing with their nesting boxes, where had some little birds inside that were calling, and you can tell that they had young ones inside because they kept coming back with just billfuls of insects. So it's that time of the year, and we'll share some of your photos too of some of those baby birds that are starting to come out, and bobolinks. Lots of bobolinks out there. They love open fields and grasslands, and there were a lot out there this weekend, chattering away. So, as well as the song sparrow. So I got to see quite a few things over the weekend, which was great. And there's been a lot of bluebird activity with you guys. It sounds like this picture was sent in by Mary Jo yesterday. Said first of 5 bluebirds hatched this morning. So just yesterday, she had some bluebirds that were hatching in her nest box. Bob's been sending in these photos of his bluebirds at his nest box. And out of the 4 eggs that he had, 3 hatched, and you can see their little heads poking out of the birdhouse here. And he was able to get some pictures of the fledglings as they started coming out. Some really cute photos here. So you shouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden you start seeing the birds are eating more mealworms, or if they're going to different seed cakes or blends that you have that have mealworms in them. Wouldn't be surprised, because a lot of these baby birds are out there in the world at the moment, and they feed them lots and lots of insect protein. And you'll see that too with the orioles. Once their eggs have hatched, they're probably still sitting on those eggs because the nest building they were doing a couple weeks ago, so we're probably not at that moment yet where the eggs have hatched yet, but that will happen very, very soon. And once those eggs hatch, they need those young need to eat a lot of insect protein. And so you'll see that the orioles will start coming to your mealworm feeders, as well as some of these other birds like the bluebirds and the wrens and even chickadees and things. So you'll start to get more of a diversity of birds coming to your mealworm feeders. So here are some pictures that Bob sent in. He says some recent photos. The one with the 3 baby bluebirds also shows the dad up in the top right corner, which you can see right up here. So here's the dad, and then there's the babies kind of smattered around on the branch here. He says, I also have bluebirds building a new nest in the nest box. Whether it is the same pair, I'm not sure. I would think taking care of the 3 would be enough work. So not only does Bob have some young bluebirds that have just fledged and left the nest, it sounds like they're doing another round. Whether or not it's the same pair, it's hard to say. But here's a picture of, looks like the male on top of the mailbox with one of the babies there by the front of the mailbox. And here's another great photo to show you what one of the young bluebirds look like. Not so much blue on it at the moment, but they'll start getting blue on their wings. So this is the juvenile bluebird here. So be on the lookout for them. He also sent in some pictures here of some different warblers. This is a common yellow throat, which is a type of warbler. The male has that black mask over its face, and then they've got that yellow throat. This looks like a blue-winged warbler, which is another cool warbler. You can see a lot of them are very yellowish in color, so they can look quite a bit like one another. This is a yellow warbler, just like its name suggests. It's mostly all yellow, and it's got those little stripes on its front breast here. And he also sent in some wood duck photos. So here's the male wood duck here and the female wood duck. So some really good bird diversity there. And then he says, oops, I forgot the scarlet tanager. So here's a great photo of a scarlet tanager, not something you tend to see every day in your backyard. So really cool photo there. If you're by any kind of woods, keep an ear open for scarlet tanager. They might still be singing. They'll sing kind of late into the summer if you have them around. So really neat photo there. And then Mark sent in these photos here. He got some pretty cool woodpecker photos. So this is the female northern flicker cleaning out the house. So you can see it looks like she's leaving some kind of a nest cavity there. If it's looks like maybe a dead tree, and she's leaving with what's called a fecal sac from the young. So she's actually cleaning all that out of the nest box or the nesting cavity to try to keep it nice and tidy for the young ones. So cool photo there showing some bird behavior by Mark, who sent that in. He also sent in these photos here of the female pileated woodpecker feeding her young at Tinker Nature Park. And so here's the female, and you can see the heads of the young there are sticking out of the nesting cavity waiting to be fed. So some really fun photos there, sent in again by Mark. And you can tell that it is the female pileated woodpecker because she's got the black stripe on her face right there by her bill. If it was red, that would be the male. So it's a female taking care of the babies there. There's a photo of a tree swallow that was sent in by Jen, and tree swallows are definitely around in different nesting cavities now, especially if you've got a wide open space. They like open fields, they like meadows, that kind of a thing. So here is a photo of a couple of the tree swallows that was sent in by Mark. You can see they've got a very bluish colored back. It's very iridescent with a white breast. You might also see barn swallows out there. They tend to nest on structures like barns and bridges. So if you go under, if you're anywhere that has a large bridge and you're going under the bridge and there's a bunch of birds nesting in under that, it's probably going to be the barn swallow. So this is the barn swallow, also iridescent but darker blue. And if you look at its tail, it's got that really forked tail. So that is the barn swallow. People are getting hummingbirds, not in huge numbers, like I said earlier, unfortunately. So just you want to make sure to keep that nectar fresh. You want to change it out every 2 to 4 days. Make sure it's fresh, unless you use that product, the Nectar Defender, which keeps your nectar fresh for more like a week or 10 days. That can help keep the nectar fresh longer, so you don't have to change it out as often. But if you're not getting as many hummingbirds as usual, you are not alone. A lot of people are experiencing that very same thing. So, but Orioles are still around. We've been getting lots of reports of nesting activity of the females building nests, and the males are still coming to feeders. But if they start to dwindle, you might want to start adding mealworms, if you haven't already, to your repertoire. And I'll show you some different options for those as well. But here's just a series that Mark had sent in earlier of the male and female oriole taking a bath. So fun stuff there. And then here's one of the orioles with some nesting material too. So they've been doing that nesting process now for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks or so now. They've been busy with the nest building. And if you've got your oriole feeder out, you might be getting these guys too, the gray catbirds. We've gotten lots of reports of gray catbirds coming to feeders this year, so be on the lookout for them. They're very, very chatty, as are the mockingbirds. And here's the northern mockingbird here. So they will also come to oriole feeders, especially if you've got the fruit and the jelly out there for them. And some reports of indigo buntings are coming out. Indigo buntings will come to seed feeders, but they do like the smaller seeds. So they might come to your Niger feeder or a feeder with sunflower hearts or millet, something like that. So sometimes they come to sunflower seed feeders, but in general, they do like some of those little smaller pieces of seeds. So be on the lookout for indigo buntings also. And with mammal activity like that burrow that I'm investigating to see what could be coming out of there, you might start to see some other little burrowing animals popping out, like young fox. We've had people talk about fisher, and their populations are expanding. So if you're starting to hear some weird and different things at night, try to identify what they are, because it could maybe not be your ordinary fox. You might have something, say, like a fisher that's out there in the woods. So pretty cool stuff. And then, of course, bears. Here and there, we've gotten some kind of spotted reports about bears coming through the area. That's not too uncommon this time of the year, especially as the young males are kind of going out and trying to establish their territory. They're known to check out backyards and bird feeders and dumpsters and garbage cans and all that good stuff. So if you are experiencing some bear issues, really the best thing you can do is take your feeders down for a few days and hope they kind of go elsewhere, which they will. But yeah, you just want to be on the lookout, because they can do some pretty good damage. Like this one here is investigating the bird feeder, and they can just bend any kind of poles that you have, any kind of metal poles or anything like that. They can make quick work of those. So we've seen some pretty interesting things come into the store due to some bear damage. So just be on the lookout for them. But that is the update of what you can expect to see in your backyard. People are still seeing warblers out there. The oriole activity has been pretty good. Hummingbirds, not so much. So if you do have, a feeder out for your orioles or bluebirds, something like that, that might have had jelly in it, you might want to switch it out from the jelly, say the birdberry jelly. You might want to put mealworms in it, something like this. We do have freeze-dried mealworms, which is what is in this tub. We also do have live mealworms, and the birds do prefer the live mealworms, but they will also eat the freeze-dried. So you might want to either add a feeder with mealworms on it, or if you have an Oriole feeder that has 2 cups in it, a lot of people will put jelly in one and mealworms in the other, and that's just one way to kind of entice more of them to come and to keep coming even when those young have hatched. And so let us know. Keep us posted on what kind of things you're seeing. Lynn is on and says, good morning. Love the photos. Yeah, thank you guys for sending in your photos. We do have an event happening this Saturday at the store. Our first ever native plant sale is going to be this Saturday here at the Birdhouse from Amanda's Garden. So we are excited about that. So we'll have that going on Saturday, as well as another broadcast. And until then, have a great week and send us your photos if you see anything cool, if you are picking up anything neat on your Merlin Sound ID app, to take a screenshot and send it on in to us. We always like to know what kind of things you're not only seeing, but hearing too. So you can send those on in to us and enjoy your week. Hopefully it's a short week for most of you. And we will see you on Saturday.